Coming up, Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service released MP of Esutefe South Collins Dauda after detaining, questioning and raiding his home.
National Disaster Management Organization takes blame for the donation of expired goods by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to victims of recent floods up north.
Also coming up, tanker drivers defy orders from their leadership to call off their sit-down strike against the National Petroleum Authority.
Ghana Technology University College lecturers embark on an indefinite strike over the absence of a governing council.
And later on the Citi Newsroom, we'll take you to Osu Aneho, where residents are at loggerheads with authorities over a looming health disaster there.
Let's settle for details of our stories now. And the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, has taken blame for the expired cooking oil which was donated by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to flood victims of the northern part of the country.
Now, NADMO in a statement says all the items that were distributed were not purchased by the Vice President, but were all supplied by NADMO's warehouse. Now, the opposition National Democratic Congress at a press conference in Wa today on the matter expressed disappointment over the issue. My colleague Muhammad Latif has more.
Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia last Saturday led a government delegation to donate relief items such as maize, rice, cooking oil, mattresses and other household materials to distressed communities that were hard hit by a week-long downpour in the 3 regions of the north. The Vice President also used the occasion to commiserate with families that lost their relatives during the disaster. But barely 3 days after the gesture, it has emerged that some of the food items supplied by the Vice President have expired, resulting in some beneficiaries becoming ill after consuming the affected consignments. The opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, first brought the issue to public attention at a press conference held in Wa today.
Ordinarily, we all thought the Vice President was in town to exemplify the age-old Ghanaian moral etiquette of being each other's keepers and offering solace for those who unfortunately are hit by distasteful circumstances such as the flooding that occurred in the suburbs of our region. Little did we expect that our Vice President would exploit our vulnerability and use our times of grief to further his political aims and caprices. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a shock of our lives when some of our kinsmen who had received disaster relief items, the items that were given, who had received disaster relief items, realized that the items that were given to them were expired and from all looks are unwholesome for human consumption. I think that you all can see these items that are assembled here. Weevil-infested rice, maggot-infested rice, oil that is looking like milk. And unfortunately, I shudder to wonder how the office of the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana could distribute items that do not have the certification of the Foods and Drugs Authority. You can all see that there is no certification of Foods and Drugs Authority on these items. It means that the institutions that have been put in place to certify the wholesomeness of food that we consume have not been put to work. And the Vice President's office had looked down on that state institution, and this is where we find ourselves today.
The regional branch of the National Disaster Management Organization has since confirmed to Citi News that it has received reports suggesting that some recipients became ill after consuming some of the food items. In a telephone interview with Citi News, the Upper West Regional NADMO chief, Isaac Seidu, says subsequent investigations by his outfit established that some of the food items which formed part of the supplies from the Vice President indeed expired. The exact number of people affected is not immediately known, but Prosper Poire believes that some actions must be taken to forestall future recurrence.
The original NADMO boss must be relieved of his position with immediate effect, as it is clear that his unwatchfulness is a threat of potential disaster on our people. Exactly. Yes. 3. With immediate effect, government should remedy the embarrassment the Vice President caused her by immediately coming to the aid of the disaster victims in a dignified and proper manner.
And we'll move on to some other stories. And lecturers of the Ghana Technology University College today declared an indefinite strike to register their displeasure against the government's failure to constitute a governing council since it took office in 2017. According to the lecturers, several calls on the government to provide the school with a governing council have fallen on deaf ears, hence the nationwide strike. My colleague Ni Ama has more in this report.
In October 2017, government constituted a 3-member interim management team to run the institution in the absence of its governing council. A year on, the lecturers say the team has failed to effectively manage the school's affairs. The lecturers have also bemoaned government's delay in passing the Ghana Telecom University Bill to make the institution a fully fledged public university. At a press conference today, the group made known its decision not to return to the classrooms.
Okay, we are withdrawing all teaching services, so we will not teach, we will not give guidance to students. We have student counseling services. Students come to us for guidance, academic counseling. We are withdrawing those services. We will not attend any faculty meeting. We will not participate in any university events, and we will not issue reference letters to any of our students or alumni.
The association insists that it will not rescind on its resolve till all of its needs are met. Though the lecturers admit the negative effect it will have on students, they maintain that the strike is ultimately in everyone's interest.
Well, we have just been informed right now that the Deputy Minister of Communications wants to meet us. We do not know what he has to tell us yet. We will listen to him. If there's any merit in what he says, if we are convinced, we will meet and review our decision. If not, the strike continues. Well, it's unfortunate that students will suffer, but if we continue as we are now, the effect on students will even be more than what we are experiencing. It will be worse, because by the time they graduate, if there's no council to award the degrees, they cannot graduate. And so the better we get these things addressed now, the better it is for the university.
So let's still stay with the story, and we've been joined in the studio by the chairman for the Ghana Technology University Lecturers Association. His name is Samuel Kingsford Segla. Welcome to the Citi Newsroom.
Thank you.
Now, you're raising a lot of issues why you've decided to go on this indefinite strike, apart from the absence of a governing council, which has forced you to go on strike. What are the other issues?
Yeah, we have 3 main issues. Apart from the governing council, the bill that will make the university a full public university is still at the executive level and has not made its way to parliament yet. The absence of the bill makes the position of the university not clear. We are not clear now whether we are a private university or a public university. It is only when the bill is passed that the university will be made a full public university. Then last year we called on the government to intervene in the management of the university because we suspected some financial mismanagement.
On the part of who?
On the part of the management of the university. And government responded by removing from office the then president, Professor Osei Dakwa. After that, government set up a 3-member interim management team to run the affairs of the university for a short time until a president is appointed and a council is also appointed. That team will be 1 year in office come Monday, and they have not given us any clear strategic direction for the university. Most of their decisions cannot hold because there's no council to ratify such decisions. And so these are the 3 main issues that have compelled us to embark on this strike.
So let's look at the 3 issues one by one. Let's start with this bill. If this bill is passed, apart from structuring or putting you into whether you want to go public or private, what else would it do for the university to push it to that level you want it to be?
Okay. If the bill is passed, our position will now be clarified as a full public university. That will position the university to rebrand and then take advantage of opportunities that come with it. As a private university, people are skeptical. They have some reservations about the quality of teaching and everything. But when we become a public university, the university will be well positioned to take advantage of such benefits. Apart from that, it will also enhance the governance system within the university, because when we become a public university, the structures will be more clarified, they will be strengthened, and then as a state institution, the checks and balances will be enhanced than our current state as a private university.
Right. How long has this initiation for this bill to be passed been going on for?
The bill was initiated about 9 months ago, and it's been going back and forth from Cabinet to the Attorney General's Department, and as we speak now, it is not yet in Parliament.
Well, what are the issues with it not being taken to Parliament? What's the back and forth about?
One of the things that we heard, which we have not been officially informed, is a change of name. The Cabinet is considering a change of name of the university.
Okay.
And then also we have some other things as to the model that should be run, whether it should be cost sharing, like the UPSC or GIMPA model. But those things, we as faculty of the university made inputs and suggested how the university should be run. And those inputs were sent about 9 months ago. So we do not know what the challenges are at the moment.
So what model are you seeking to have? And do you want that name changed as well? What is your take on these issues they've raised? Or what submissions did you make when they came back to you?
The name change has not been discussed with us. We only heard from other sources. But in terms of the model, we proposed a cost-sharing model where government would take the salaries of the staff of the university, and the university would use their internally generated funds to expand the infrastructure of the university. That is the model that we propose as staff of the university.
Okay. Then let's look at the issue to do with the interim management team. Who appointed that team?
That team was appointed by the President through the Minister of Communications.
And who are the people on that team?
We have the current Vice President of the university, who is the chairman of the team, a registrar, and then Dr. Kwikwata, who is a faculty member.
And a faculty member, a member of your school. But then you claim that all the decisions they've made so far has been ad hoc in nature, and a careful analysis of their reign reveals a lot of infractions that need to be quickly addressed. What are the issues there?
To begin with, we'll talk about the governance structures or structures within the university system, the departmental levels, and then the faculty levels. Some of these things are not properly structured at the moment. And there are critical decisions that have to be taken by the council. Any decision taken by the interim management team now would have to be ratified by the council, because they do not have the power to take such decisions. So we have appointment of deans and heads of department that's currently pending. We have promotions of people to senior lecturer and associate professorship, which is pending. These are all things that the university council will have to address. The interim management team does not have the power to take some of these decisions. Again, the university is currently indebted, and we have non-performing assets that could be disposed of to settle part of our indebtedness. But the interim management team cannot take such decisions. That power is vested with the university council.
And you had wanted a forensic audit into the affairs of the university, and we understand IOCO has taken the case. What were you seeking to get from that, and what has been the response of IOCO so far on this investigation? Okay,
a year ago we called on the government to institute the forensic audits, and government responded. IOCO came, they brought auditors to do the audit, and we understand the report is currently with IOCO. We know people have been invited from the university to respond to questions, but the final report is not out, so we will not be able to speak to the details of the reports.
Okay.
We also heard in the media, we haven't received any final report yet.
So from your answers, it appears, for example, the forensic audit you requested for is being done. There's a back and forth over some of the issues raised. So there's an effort to deal with some of the issues, or most of the issues that you are agitating about. So why do you want to strike now, based on all these developments?
We raised two main issues. The first one is the forensic audit. The second one is the governance structure. Now, a university without an appropriate governance structure cannot function properly. For instance, if our students are to graduate tomorrow, the power is vested with the university council to confer such degrees. Without the university council, the students cannot graduate, and that is a serious matter. So if the structures are not properly done, then the university will suffer in the long term. What we are saying is that we served notice on the government in April. that if government fails to constitute this council by August, we will not resume the new academic year. In August, we sent a reminder to the government, and subsequently the Deputy Minister of Communications was sent to meet with leadership of faculty and then the interim management team. The response was conveyed to the General Assembly of the faculty, and the response was not, we were not impressed with the responses that we got.
What was the response?
The response was that any decision that the interim management could not take should be sent to the ministry for approval. But as I mentioned earlier, there are decisions that not even the ministry or the executive can take. When it comes to appointment and promotion of people to deans and heads of department, the ministry does not have that power. When it comes to conferment of degrees, the ministry cannot grant IMT that power to do that. It is only the University Council that can do that. So we believe that that response from the Deputy Minister was inappropriate.
Right. So these demands you're making are quite huge, and it doesn't look like it's something that will be done even within a week or two, yet you declared an indefinite strike. What will make you return to the lecture halls? Because students' progress is at stake here.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, several attempts have been made. We have written letters, we have had meetings, and assurances have been given, yet we have not seen anything until we especially see a well-constituted governing council, which is very critical for the running of the university at this time. We are not returning to the classroom.
Wow. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Samuel Kingsford Segla. He's the chairman of the Ghana Technology University College Lecturers Association. We'll move on to some other stories, and the Ahafo Kenyasi Development Association in the Esutefe North District of the Bono Ahafo region is urging government to quickly construct the Kenyasi Shwadem Road, which is in a worrying state of disrepair. The association says it will take matters into its own hands if their concerns are not addressed. Citi Newsroom's Michael Sapo-Infum visited the area and filed this report.
This is the state of the 3-kilometer Kenyasi Shwadem Road. The road is bumpy, muddy, and potholes ridden. The state of the road is affecting the socioeconomic activities of locals in the area. The commute on the road, which should take drivers about 5 minutes, takes an hour. The road also links to other communities to Kenyasi, making it difficult for farmers to cut their foodstuffs to the Kenyasi market. According to the drivers, they always have to visit the mechanic shop anytime they drive on the road. Some of them spoke to Citi News.
In fact, this road to Kenyasi is horrible. You have a look at this road. In fact, if you say we have even company in this town, you will never believe it. You will never believe it. Company like Newmont in this town. And look at the road we are passing through. If it is rain just once, you can't even not use that small cars in it. You cannot pass. I'm appealing for the government that even though we know the NDC government has sponsored us when we voted for Nana. So we have belief, and we believe in Nana that he can do something for us. He should look at this road.
Well, Kenyasi Shwadem Road is not good, and we are pleading the government to come and help us and fix this road for us. We have Newmont here, and a lot of money or taxes has been paid, so we are pleading. This road has been there for about 10 years, and we need the government support to come and fix this road once and for all for us. We are not pleading for. We want the government to come and do this road as asphalt. We need asphalt because here is World Bank of MPP. So we want the government to come and help us and fix it once and for all for us.
President of the Ahafo Kenyasi Development Association, Nana Kwesi Ajiman, is urging government as a matter of urgency to construct the road. Nana Kwesi Ajiman reiterated that the association will not remain silent but will continue to push for Kenyasi to get its fair share of the national cake.
As we all can see, the road is very bad.
this is the physical state of the road. A lot of concerns, a lot of complaints are made. We are very aggrieved this time because we know that the government is supposed to do something better for us. We know that we need to have our fair share of the national cake. We know that it is time that some certain social amenities should be we should enjoy. So we are still appealing this time around aggressively, vigorously, that something must be done right now. Right now, we cannot wait until the election time. We cannot wait until any other time than today. So we expect the government to do something better for us.
This is the state of the Kenyase Freedom Road in the Brahafo region. A journey that should last 5 minutes takes close to an hour. And according to the residents, they can't wait until 2028 before this road is constructed. So they are calling on the president to do something about this particular road. For Citi News, I am Michael Saponifum reporting.
Let's remain with road infrastructure because commuters on the Tumu-Bolgatanga road are asking for urgent attention to be given to fixing the road as heavy downpours leave parts of the 141-kilometer stretch inaccessible. The road is a major highway that connects the Upper West to the Upper East region. Citi News' Fentio Tahiru traveled from Tumu to Bolgatanga and has this report.
From Tumu, the capital of the Sisala East District, to Bolgatanga, capital of the Upper East region, is a 141-kilometer road that should take maximum 2 hours to travel. But bad roads mean travel time can last between 3 hours and 6 hours if you're not lucky. And during the rainy season, you can run out of luck very quickly. After leaving Tumu around 6 a.m., 30 minutes into the journey, we came to a stop at Navaruye, the road cut off by water overflowing the bridge. Only motorbike riders could afford to cross the bridge, but at a fee charged by these boys who were on hand to help. After 2 hours of waiting, our minibus managed to cross the bridge after the water has subsided, but only to run into this. 3 vehicles stuck in the mud in the middle of the road. The driver of our minibus tried to use a diversion and got stuck. This went on for another 30 minutes until the passengers eventually gave up. So this is the major highway, the major road connecting Bolgatanga, the capital of the Upper East region, and Tumu, the district capital of the Sisala East District Assembly. It's in a very bad state. Students are stuck here. And as you can see, people are struggling. Since last night, we tried to get these buses that have been stuck here a long time out of this particular place. But our plight was nothing compared to these students. They were in the Metro Mass bus headed to Canton Senior High School in Tumu the previous day when their bus got stuck in the mud.
Yesterday we were from China going to Tumu. So yesterday we got here when we saw the road spoiled, so we couldn't pass. So yesterday when we were about to pass, the car just gets sink. So we tried, we couldn't push the car out. So we went to the police station up there. They were slept there. This morning we came to try and see whether if we can push it out, then they couldn't. Yesterday it was a tractor who came, then they couldn't make it. They also left away. So they were saying that they are going to bring a Maus car so that they can help us get our car out. Yesterday we didn't sleep here because the water was, all this place was full of water. Yeah. So when we went there, then this morning we came, we saw that all our tools and then items were spoiled because of the water. The water get inside the car.
Everything Williams and his colleagues were taking to school completely submerged in water.
Food, that's gari, store, our exercise books, textbooks, we bought back at our hometown. all of them, all our things they are spoiled. So we couldn't make anything. We have to go to school. Then if we can get some phones, then we called our parents back at home. Then if they can help us with some small money so that we can also help ourselves. Because if we don't go back to school, then we want to go back to our hometown. Maybe the day they gave us to report at school, it may be late. Then the time we get back to school, so we will not even get time to learn self.
In the meantime, the driver of our minibus enlisted the help of a truck driver who pulled his car out. The sight of broken down vehicles litter the road as we go. Whether it's a Toyota Corolla in a ditch, a cargo truck in the middle of the road, or a minivan out on the sidewalk. The president has made it a priority to give free senior high school education to every Ghanaian child. But is it really free if students like Williams and his classmates cannot travel to school without losing everything meant to make education easier? Stuck in the middle of nowhere, I am Fentio Tahiru reporting for Citi Newsroom.
Wow, thunder.
It's devastating.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I have used that route before. It wasn't raining, but it's a pathetic sight. And I have used it over a year ago. I actually recognize that Metro Mass bus because it appears it's the only bus that applies the Upper East region to the Upper West region. If you're from Bolgatanga, Navrongo, and you're headed to Tumu, which is a major town in the Upper West region, this is what you use. And it's actually not tarred at all. As soon as you pass, he mentioned China, the student there from China. After China, everything else is just a wilderness. Oh. And they're stuck in the middle there. Mind you, there's no telephone connection there. This area is prone to highway robbers. So every bus on that route has a police escort. So indeed, that Metro Mass bus you've seen there has a police escort. Now, imagine if there was no escort for that night and they get stuck and highway robbers will leave them. That would be the end of it. And this is an area that produced a president before, Hila Liman. Yeah. And that's how much neglect we have given to that area. It's pathetic.
Very pathetic. I've heard about this road and I've imagined, based on what people said, how bad it is. But for the past, I think, 3 days or so, we've been concentrating on that Tumu road. And every report we've had so far, it gets worse by the report. This is the worst I've seen so far.
The pictures are horrible. And I think Fentio did a wonderful job.
Brilliant report. Brilliant.
And it's something worthy of applaud, but something worthy of the attention of the Minister for Roads and Highways. I think this must be fixed, and it must be fixed immediately.
Let's hope it's fixed immediately.
You're still watching Citi Newsroom on Citi TV. I am Umaru Sandamadu here with
Vivian Kai Loco.
Now, when we come back, tanker drivers in Tema have defied the orders from their union leadership to call off a sit-down strike that they began yesterday against the National Petroleum Authority.
Witness the twisted and tangled story of betrayal, greed, vengeance, and love in the award-winning Brazil Avenue. Carmenia, a woman led by greed, gets rid of her husband, who is Rita's father, and sends Rita away to a filthy landfill. Rita finds love in Batata, but they are soon separated by adoption into different families, far away from each other. Many years later, all paths cross again, as Rita, now a renowned chef, seeks to pay back her stepmother for taking away her happiness as a child. It's the story of twists, turns, suspense, and thrilling action in Brazil Avenue. Brazil Avenue. Coming soon, only on Citi TV. Brazil Avenue.
We spice up your mornings with culturally enriched conversations, social interviews, and policy-oriented discussions that will keep you updated on the progress of the nation.
Because we're giving only those in their third trimester. So in the next 3 months, those in their second would be ready to receive the kits. And we're taking data at registration, which is before they take the kits, at delivery and post-delivery, so that we can analyze and we'll see the numbers. So from the numbers and the data that we're collecting, we would know what has worked, what hasn't worked,
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Let your voice be heard with the hashtag Breakfast Daily. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.
Welcome back to the Citi Newsroom. Now, the Member of Parliament for Esutefi South constituency, Alhaji Collins Dauda, has been granted self-recognizance bail after several hours of interrogation at the Criminal Investigations Department headquarters in Accra.
He was cautioned with abetment of assault after his colleagues revealed that he was arrested without notice. There is more in the following report.
Some party executives, MPs and sympathizers of the NDC were left confused at the CID headquarters earlier today, following the arrest of the Member of Parliament for Esutefi South constituency, Alhaji Collins Dauda. Some of them who spoke to Citi News said they were at a loss as to why the MP was being interrogated. A group of armed police officers were stationed in front of the headquarters to prevent the entry of the media and the general public into the premises. After several hours of interrogation, the MP was granted bail. Accompanying him was MP for Asawasi constituency, Honorable Mubarak Muntaka, who described the circumstances surrounding the arrest as unfair.
Well, all we will say is that we need to all be very careful about the way we use political power in this country, because these things don't augur well for all of us. It doesn't augur well for our democracy. This is a very senior member of parliament, a former minister. Things that you can use phone to just call him and he'll come. That's how we've gone. We are law-abiding citizens. And we'll always be called, when you call us using the right procedure, we'll always be there. He's gone. He's going home. So, but to take military men, police, to go and raid both his house in constituency and Accra, this is just too unfair. That's like intimidation. And we all know, if there's any other person to be intimidated, not Honorable Collins Dauda, I'm sure go. Because he's not afraid. Because he believes that, there are laws in our country. We abide by the laws. We are never cowards. So we are grateful to all of you for the support and well-wishing. And we assure you that we'll continue to abide by the law, but we'll never be intimidated by anybody. We'll do what will be right. We'll do what will take us to keep our constituencies. We'll do what we'll do to protect ourselves and protect our constituencies.
Meanwhile, General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, who was at the CID headquarters, thinks the MP's arrest was orchestrated to divert attention from the Star Times government Giba DTT controversy.
He has been arrested and granted self-recognizance bail. So that is what it means. But you see, my view is that the government has its back on the wall. There are all these challenges in the economy, and when there is a problem, they want a diversion. Yes. So, look, the First Lady has just been bribed by Star Times about this contract, digital contract. Because there is a contract that is being worked on, Parliament is being asked to approve. And then you call the First Lady and then donate consignment of goods and monies to Rebecca Foundation. And then following that, you are now coming to get a contract approved for the company that actually gave those donations. What it is it a bribe? And they know that the Star Times contract is generating a lot of heat, so they want some means of diverting the attention of the nation. We refuse to be diverted, and we will pursue that contract to its logical conclusion. Let them be told that the First Lady should be taken to Shrak for investigation. And for conflict of interest. Your husband cannot be pushing a contract and then you go behind and take donations for your foundation.
Honorable Collins Dauda has now been granted bail after being interrogated for a number of hours for inciting fight. Reporting for Citi News, Hansen Ajeman.
Earlier, the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, had urged the police administration to desist from its arbitrary arrest of members of Parliament without recourse to lay down parliamentary procedure.
Even before proceedings began in the House, the minority, after a caucus meeting that lasted a couple of hours, addressed the media to express their displeasure with the attempted arrest of a Citi South MP, Collins Dauda. Haruna Idrisu is the minority leader.
We woke up this morning to a very bizarre development which raises fundamental questions on the civility of the handling of matters by the Ghana Police Service. And I want to use this opportunity to call the President, the Minister for Interior and the Inspector General of Police to order that we are a country governed by law and a country underpinned by the rule of law, recognizing that no citizen, including members of Parliament, are above the laws of this country or above matters relating to criminal investigation. But our immunities and privileges are constitutionally guaranteed. I expect that the Speaker of Parliament, who is custodian of these privileges and immunities, will make a public statement on this matter. But as a leader of the minority, one of my most important ranking members and a senior member is being intimidated and harassed. And harassment must stop.
When proceedings finally began, the Speaker, Professor Michael Quay, did not mince words in condemning the attempted arrest of the MP, indicating that the move by the police is an assault on parliamentary immunity.
And we want to reiterate that when any invitation is required, we would like it to be routed properly, and the appropriate honourable member will attend to the appropriate invitation at the highest quarters, preferably the Commissioner of Police CID in charge of investigation. Because monkeys after all play in sizes. If you want an honourable member of Parliament, that will be my barest minimum. That person will come and report in good company of parliamentary leadership and to the Commissioner in charge of investigations at the Ghana Police.
Still on the floor of the House, the Appointments Committee recommended for approval the nomination of Justice Mafusau, Justice Agnes Doji, Professor Ni Ashikote, and Nene Amegache as justices of the Supreme Court. Chairman of the Appointments Committee, Joe Oseusu, presented the report of the committee, which was accepted by the House.
After duly considering the nominations in the light of the provisions of the 1992 Constitution and Order 74 of the Standing Orders of the House, the committee is satisfied that the unlisted nominees exhibited good character and possessed requisite knowledge and experience in the law. They exhibited independent-mindedness and assured the committee of the will to interpret the law as it is without fear or favor. They demonstrated a resolve to be above partisanship in the discharge of their duties. The committee accordingly found them suitable to be appointed as justices of the Supreme Court and recommends to the House to approve them by consensus. Notwithstanding the provisions of Order 81, which requires that no motion shall be debated until at least 48 hours have elapsed between the date on which the notice of the motion is given and the date on which the motion is moved, that the motion for the adoption of the report of the Appointments Committee on His Excellency the President's nomination for appointment as Justice of the Supreme Court be now moved. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
So the matters that have really dominated discussions in the House are matters that are really off the floor outside the chamber. The attempted arrest of a Citi South Member of Parliament, Collins Dauda, has really been on the lips of most members of Parliament today. Again, the appointees of the President onto the Supreme Court bench, 4 of them, have also been approved by the House. And another committee that has been very busy is the Communications Committee. They have been considering a petition brought to them by the Ghana Independent Broadcasting Association, GIBA, in connection with the Star Times involvement in the country's digital space. For Citi News from Parliament, I am Duke Menso Opoku.
Some other stories. In the Ghana Police Service has reassigned 15 of its personnel nationwide. The reshuffle was contained in a statement signed by the Inspector General of Police, David Asante Apietu.
Now, in March 2018, the service witnessed its first shake-up for the year as a result of incessant robbery attacks within some parts of the country. The changes in this recent shake-up include the appointment of COP James Opon-Buanu as the Deputy Inspector General of Police, and the shifting of COP George Ekufo-Dampare as the Director General of Research and Planning to Director General in charge of welfare. We have that statement, Vivian.
So there are other appointments or reshuffling. For example, COP Mr. Prosper Kwame Apollo, Director General, he's been moved to welfare to Director General Legal. COP Mr. Christian Teteyonu, Director General PID to Director General MTTD. Then we also have COP Mr. Nathan Kofi Boachi, Director General PPSP. We moved to Director General Research and P. I wonder what the P is. And then COP Mrs. Beatrice Sakpa Vim Zanziri. She was the Director General HRD. She's been moved to Director General PPSP. COP Mr. Maxwell Saki Pasco Actingani. He was the Director General MTTD. He's been moved to Commandant GPCSC. COP Mr. Isaac Ken Yeboah. He was Director General Technical. He's been moved to Director General Administration. DCOP Mr. George Tufor, Regional Commander Volta Region. He's been moved to Director General Finance. DCOP Mr. George Alex Mensah, Regional Commander Ashanti Region. He's been moved to Director General OPS. DCOP Nana Asamoah, Regional Commander TR. He's been moved to Director General HRD. DCOP Mr. Samuel Money, Director General NAPD. He's been moved to Director General Technical. And then Mr. Patrick Atampugri Akolgo. He was Director General Finance. He's been moved to Director General NAPD. And DCOP Mr. Fred Edu Enim, Regional Headquarters. He's been moved to Director General PID. Regional Headquarters for Ashanti is now gone to Director General PID. And then ACP Mr. Usu Donyina. He was the Regional Headquarters Western Region. He's now Deputy Director General for Finance.
So the key things that are out of this statement is that for the first time in a long time, since Mrs. Robert Mills, who was the Deputy IGP, we are having someone being named as a Deputy IGP. That's James Opon-Buanu, who is the COP there. So going to be Deputy. But interesting on that particular person, he's scheduled for retirement in less than a month. And he's actually on leave now, pending his retirement.
Yeah.
So the question from analysts and critics is that why do you appoint someone who is due for retirement? He's actually on leave pending retirement. Give them a job when they have just a month to retire. Is it that you just want to put them there to retire as a Deputy IGP? That's key. Second issue, the Accra Regional Commander, George Alex Mensah, has been replaced, actually removed and sent to Director General in charge of OPS. But we do not have a replacement for the Accra region. So as we sleep tonight, we don't have an Accra Regional Police Command. We may have a 2IC, but we do not have a regional commander for Accra. That's all.
That's worry for you.
Well,
so the RAP is research and planning.
Okay, thank you.
And it's interesting, there's been a lot of shuffling going through the police. I think every 3 or 6 months we see this.
It's almost every time. I think it's almost every time.
Do we know the rationale behind these continuous
we can't be sure.
movements?
We can't be sure. That's clearly from the bosom of the IGP. But of course, curious case though is the COP George Ekufu Dampare, someone who can be described as a deputy IGP, is now being shipped from research and planning to welfare.
Wow.
This is Citi Newsroom on Citi TV. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Good evening, this is The Point of View. We're live on Citi TV.
Tune in to The Point of View, Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. as Bernard Avlet takes the news further. He will bring the right guests, ask them the relevant questions, and get you the real insights you need on the big stories for the day.
We need taxes to run the economy. How do you do it sensibly and have the least pernicious effect in terms of cascading through the economy? And I think that is the thinking that is required. It's not a denial that we need taxes, you know, and I think that that is the difference in the two administrations.
The Point of View with Bernard Avlet, Monday and Wednesday nights, only on Citi TV.
Welcome back to the Citi Newsroom. Now, contrary to reports that tanker drivers had called off their sit-down strike, the drivers numbering about 500 tell Citi News the action is still on.
Gathered at the office of the drivers' union at the Tema Oil Refinery that store, the drivers want a clear-cut communique addressed to them by the National Petroleum Authority, that's the NPA. Citi News' Tema correspondent of Washington was there.
The drivers earlier today gathered at the office of their mother association of the Tanker Drivers Association in Tema, waiting for a positive response from the National Petroleum Authority. To them, they are unperturbed with what they call false information that the strike had been called off and that they would only budge if the NPA writes a favorable letter addressing their challenges. The drivers are calling on the NPA and their truck owners to implement a memorandum of understanding that seek to address their welfare and also address issues of underground shortage at Bost, which impede their work. However, after several hours of a closed-door meeting between the leadership of the drivers' union and the Tema mayor, the mayor assured the drivers that the NPA has indeed drafted a letter that seeks to address their concerns and pleaded with them to call off the strike.
Unless you people don't want me to solve for you, you want to solve your own thing. I'm not going to do it alone. I'm going to do it with your executives. And we'll find solution to all your problems. Your executives are behind me. They are behind you, solidly. The way Amuji Mukasatum. Mumu opportunity no coming to me now. Now you solve problems now.
The drivers were unhappy and said they will give in only if they see the content of the letter before deciding on the way forward. The chairman of the association, however, had this to say to his members who were fully charged and were not ready to buy into any excuse or assurances except for a concrete document stating the position of the NPA.
We addressed the issue. Indeed, we made some effort that we can see clearly that a type of person, we need to give him that opportunity. So we allowed him to take the matter out, which we sent before top executives. So he assured us that a letter has been signed, has been prepared at MPA, which our grievances have been addressed. So from now, we are sending people to go to MPA to have a look at that document and sign, so that we'll show it to members. And indeed, if what we are looking for, the underground shortages are taken out from there. You understand? I assure you that tomorrow we'll start with the guarantee document. That's what we are waiting for. That will confirm to us that we will work tomorrow. But I can assure you, with what I heard, if indeed that is what is written in the paper, we can really work. But we are ready to serve the nation. And this is purely not about politics. We are only saying this because of our welfare.
For Citi News, Elvis Washington.
Now, there was heavy security earlier today at the Menshia Palace in Kumasi in the Ashanti region after some customers of the First Allied Savings and Loans Company besieged the palace to petition the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II. The aggrieved customers of the microfinance firm want the intervention of the king to retrieve their deposits.
While some of the customers are calling on the Bank of Ghana to investigate the financial institution over its inability to pay customers for several months, others are threatening legal action against the institution. Akwesi Echampong, who speaks for the aggrieved customers, addressed journalists in Kumasi.
To the bank for over 2 to 3 months in view of getting our money, not all even the money, but some money so we could run our businesses and take care of our kids. But immediately you go there, they will tell you there is no money for you. Wait for end of the month. We have been going there several times, and end of the month is within 30 days. But it looks like we've been going there for over 60 to 90 days. So which kind of end of the month that they want to tell us, they have to let us know. Secondly, our money are there for safekeeping. So we have to get our money. Anytime we go to the bank and you need part of your money or even all the money, it has to be appreciated and given to you. But we don't get anything, even a penny, we don't get it. Me standing here for a week ago, all my money got finished. Now I have to lend money from other people to eat, which is very bad. So if we don't hear from them within a week, illegal action and another attention will be considered.
From Kumasi, let's come to Accra, and there's an impending health disaster, the Osu Aneho, close to the former seat of government if authorities do not act in time to address the sanitation challenges. A major drain that is supposed to channel liquid waste into the sea has now become a storage for plastic waste and human excreta that finally ends up in the sea.
Now, alternative situation was introduced as a means of preventing the plastic waste from ending up in the sea, but residents are fighting authorities to be more proactive in resolving the matter. There's more in this report, and viewer discretion is advised.
In an attempt to solve the sanitation issues in Osu Aneho, a bigger one which threatens the health of residents in the area has rather been created. The assemblyman for Osu Alata, Hubert Pakpogashan, created a mesh to prevent the plastic waste from being washed into the sea.
The drain there carries about 70% of waste within the whole of Osu. The popular area that is Osu Oxford, where we spend a lot of time having fun, the waste that comes from those communities finally comes into this big drain. So the challenge that you are seeing there is not the fault of us. It is from upstream.
The drainage, supposed to channel liquid waste into the sea, has rather turned into a huge reservoir of germs and plastic waste. The stagnant nature of the plastic waste has now become a breeding ground for mosquitoes. But a more worrying situation here is the fact that one of the public toilets releases fecal matter on a daily basis through this pipe, which eventually ends up in the sea. Others also conveniently practice open defecation along the drain.
People used to pay 80 pesos for toilets. Imagine you have 3 children or 4 children, you and your wife and your 4 children. You are left with 5 cedis. Toilet is taking 80 pesos. Shower is taking 50 pesos. How can you survive with these 5 cedis with you and the children? And I can come and tell you, please, my mom is not at home. I want to go to poo by my stomach. The woman will drive you away. 80 pesos. And after the 80 pesos, they release it into the gutter. They release the toilet into the gutter.
The plastic waste is believed to be from residents in and around Osu who dump refuse into the drains, which ends up here at Aneho. Osu is a major part of Accra. President Akufo-Addo promised to make Africa's cleanest city. However, the town, which hosts the Osu Castle, Oxford Street and Independence Square, among a host of other national monuments, seems to be lagging behind in this quest. Residents here are worried about the situation. They fear an outbreak of any disease could be dire.
Environment now what? Tontono bekebi wanye bekebi tontono kadi dogbane eye mobo ko na no ko yagbe no te wie mo no abajebu ake bu eneke e ka o fe to mo enemies shije na ka won fe na ka nwe wo ka ke ma e ka ya no ko no nyame ko na yagbe ko no o ba yue ko na nyame ko na o yagbe ko no o ba yue wo mi pam lalu e fai na me wawo ke mu e bi ye nwe ame wawo ni wo ko wo environment ne ye wo gota na ehi jake etowo wa
si of late agbenu ba buach ne ena wa fi wo denje ye bi ene ko ojebi ene o se ne gen sent ni ba ena wa no ke korila je bi ene wo me wo yo visibility ya mi wo fe ka gbele gba wo fe o ba gbo dani government ba ke okay besaga akwa bi ene na akwa bi ene hawo.
It is a responsibility of the local authority to ensure the sanitation situation is managed and improved, but it appears they have shirked their responsibility. The youth say they are willing to take up the task of cleaning the drain if the local authority employs them.
Wanu wani watu mbe kumetene chaba ni worecho wakala dili minga nungo boy na mepewo amiga nutuma kanga hemi akayemi mbe laka weche chike bono kami wopo ono nje komepo kambie nke woda go that race ado mo na for me shimu mi no ma shako mi mu deko won le no ni wo shimi suna ko no pa ni mali owo mi sumu na me be ko na mama le we ko onu pa na me mali owo MPs onu pa na me mali owo assembly members onu pa na me mali owo mi ta na mama le we ko.
For residents here, a proper enforcement of the law will ensure that the situation is resolved. Until 3 months ago, when this mesh was provided, there used to be a free flow of fecal matter and plastic into the sea. And as a stopgap measure, the assemblyman for this area provided this mesh. However, the youth here are unhappy with this development as it breeds a lot of mosquitoes as a result of the stagnant nature of the gutter now. The residents here say they are willing to help government's agenda of making Accra the cleanest city in Africa by 2020. But is the government willing to employ them? Zoe Abubeidu reporting from Osu Aneho.
And that's it for the Citi Newsroom. Visit citinewsroom.com for more news. My name is Ethan Kai, local.
And I am Umaru Sandamadu. Thank you for viewing.
Most fishermen, a lot of fish. I mean, life was so easy. You got out. The sea was just about 50 meters from my house.
Oh.
So I could see fish. I mean, fishermen bringing the fish from the shore, from my house. We all fishermen, fish was everywhere. So in those days, young people, fishing was the thing they did, and sometimes some became carpenters, and one or two became masons. Otherwise, fishing was the main occupation. Farming, yes, growing vegetables here and there, but it was just fishing all over the place. So in 1945, about 8 years old, I said to my father, I wanted to go to school. He was bemused. I mean, go to school, and don't worry, it was fishing, you're going to go to school. And he thought I was joking, but I kept on to school. But at that time, you see, the white people would do something with sense, with reason. My father's house was about, you could see the school building from my father's house. In fact, the school bell I could hear from my father's house. Oh. So schooling wasn't a problem. There were 4 schools in Winneba at that time. They were all located in a way that wherever you live in Winneba, you had about a minute, 2 minutes to walk to school. Not like today, you really run to go to school from, it's crazy. But those days, everything was well planned. Life was easy, a lot of food. So eventually, I mean, when I went to school, my father had traveled. When he came back, said this to him, he said, okay, which one to go? So let's go to school. Unfortunately, all the schools there, Methodist, Anglican, ECM, English Church Mission School, AME Zion, and Catholic were all full. Yet by the time we gave up hope, the rumor that another school was really founded, Basel Mission School, by missions from Basel in Switzerland. Yet I could see the school from my house. I remember there was around the corner there. Luckily, myself, those living today, Dr. Donata, was my classmate in 1945. 8 boys and 2 girls, 10 of us all together, began that school in Winneba. If you know Winneba well, as you go to the seaside, there was a building there. There was a European cemetery, the cocoa shed. We opened our cloth around our neck and went to I mean, very primitive. But today, if you are as you were formative or defense staff, from that modest beginning, you wonder how the hell you got to where you are. So it wasn't like that. The school started, 8 boys. Then we went on until about 1951, when we had to go to middle form 1. There was none in Winneba. We had to go to boarding school in Sabah, Suedro, Ekropong, those places. It was an exam, nationwide exam. We sat, and I was selected to go to Sabah Presby boarding school. Wonderful time. That's when I began to grow up. For the first, I left home, walked 2 miles into Accra River, 2 miles out, 2 miles in, to carry a bucket of water. So every day you walk 4 miles, barefoot in the jungle. One young people today sit down and want a car with air conditioning. I laugh at you. We've gone through hell. Real life, that life prepared you for the life today. It made you tough. That's the life in Ghana in those days. It was tough, but it prepared you for the future. It made you very strong, very tough.
So at what point did you decide that the army was for you, considering the newness of even a full-scale professional army at the time?
That's right. You see, I grew up during the war, 39 War, 45. Winneba was a popular place for soldiers who were returning from Burma, from Europe, Americans, British, and Ghanaians coming back from Burma. So, and I had about 2 or 3 family people who were in Burma. One of them was a crazy man. I mean, he used to run after us children and beat us. I mean, so, but it was very rough. But also exciting life. At some point in time, the late Major Akwa, you know, Major Akwa came with the 3 judges. We grew up in the same house. He came back from science in 1957. I hadn't entered secondary school. When I left middle school, went to work. I left middle school in 1954. Worked for 2 years to save every penny, lose a penny that I earned to pay my way in secondary school. I spent 3.5 years. It was 5 years in those days. I spent 3.5 years. Sat for the O-level in 1960. Then, one Mr. Salad, I have the picture, Salad Brass, and 2 British Army officers came around the schools. Then the Nkrumah decided to rebuild the Ghana Army into a full-scale national army, and then remove all the British officers from the military. He had to get a young people from Achimon and Fancy. So they went around the country, convincing people like Godfrey to a good career. So we joined the army. If you are convinced, you actually persuade. Today people line up in Birmingham, people behind it before they get into the army. We were begged to go into the army. And I was fortunate enough to get grade 1. You spent 3.5 years in school rather than 5 years. I ended up getting grade 1. It was very rare in those days. I was doing my exam in 1960 at Makola. There was a big hall there, right in the middle of Makola. And the noise there, only God can. I mean, how the hell you even kept your brain to do mathematics, Pythagorean theorem? And with all the music, I kept singing and so on. I mean, it was amazing. And I used to walk from Abosoke in the morning, walk to Makola, sweating to go and do mathematics, to go and do literature, to go and do Macbeth and all those things. So life was, you see, you were prepared for hard life. Not like today. Our life was hard, and that right started from your birth. So you prepare, the army was natural place because you were tough enough to go into the army. So when the British people came around, convincing us to go into the army, I was the only one in my class. It was a fighting life. I mean, this uncle of mine came back from Burma. And he was, after the war, soldiers were misbehaving. They would go to the market, beat people up, and all kinds. So to say to your parents, you're going to go to the army, they say you are a crazy man. I remember a friend of mine, I wouldn't mention his name without permission, old at Morton. And he told his father, I wanted to go into the army. Father didn't say anything. So one day he was sleeping, and the father came and woke him up about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and asked the son whether anything was wrong with him. To say you want to go to the army. Look, maybe I mean, something. That's how scary the army was. But I wasn't scared. Birmingham, we're not for Birmingham. Birmingham was frightening. Even, I mean, today, Trotro go to Birmingham. In those days, who the hell, you go to Birmingham with Trotro? Even as a military man, it was scary. So life was really exciting, tough. And people became very tough because life was rough. You had to get tough.
And I have seen your intake. I've seen photos.
Yes.
And there are a lot of legendary names in there. I saw Arnold Quenu in there, who also became a very prominent military officer. Feli was in there. Benasco was in there. Yes. Early days, these were perhaps the best of the best then, around that time.
You know, the competition was amazing. I remember coming from, I can't remember where I stayed in Accra, but the whole selection took 1 week. And I came to Winneba, not knowing where, I don't remember where I stayed, but I'm sure they gave us a place to stay. I'm very sure. I can't remember where I stayed. In Birmingham. Never been Birmingham before. But it was so scary that you had to be very bold even to go to Birmingham. And for 1 week, we began with 2 exams, English and mathematics. But luckily for some of us, I've just finished my O-level, so all the maths, all the Pythagorean equations, I was in the head, so I didn't have to think of anything. You know, and then from there, you went to aptitude tests, and you went to do physical exercise, where the whole body was tested, your mental attitude, your mental capacity, your physical capacity, so that you're going to be a full man. Mentally, physically, emotionally. That took 1 week. You know, so it wasn't an easy prospect. After all, you're going to, I remember there was a major stone when we went to the academy. It was 13 years. It was full of, it's a bully, and it's look, there will be war one day, and we'll be at war. It's not a joke here. War is not a joke. It's not a tea party. It's a serious business. So you were so scared. And unless you were determined to be in the army, you ran away. Many people just ran away, even at Sandhurst, which I did later on. So, if I look back, almost 58 years ago, it's been a lot of change. Change in the Ghanaian, you know, change in the attitude of the Ghanaian, so many things have changed. But sadly,
you
not
feel
for
we're a
the
bit
better.
more timid these days, softer?
We are softer by nature. But as Africans, when I went to science later on, I'm sure you'll come to that, I found that the white people, we were much, if it come to boxing, or the kind of Hammond, or the boxer in science, I mean, he used to walk, to knock people who were bigger than twice his weight. We are very strong, but mentally we are weak. I can walk from here to Bamba and walk back. Even though I'm tired, I'll continue walking. The white man will continue walking because he was built, to be tough, to withstand hardship. Then when it's raining, Ghanaian will go and hide behind a tree. Are you a soldier that if it's raining, you cannot walk in the rain? But besides rain, snow, we trained in snow, in rain. So that's what I'm talking about, toughness.
Okay.
We lack comfort, too much comfort.
Okay. Now, you had gotten into the army elite class, and you ended up in England.
Yes.
Studying at the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst.
Yes.
Now, that is quite prestigious. How did you end up there?
It was now eye-opening. I mean, I never dreamt in my youth that you will come whenever fishing, end up in Britain and at Sandhurst. It was a dream come true. And you see, I'm somebody who takes life seriously. I don't joke with life. Everything of my life is planned. Even my children, it was planned. I mean, there were three children. I had my wife in front. I don't want 4 children. I didn't have to buy a bigger car. So 3 children was enough. If that was planned. So in the army, I didn't joke. I was in the army with people from all the best schools, Achimota and Fancy Prempeh College. It was one of them.
Yes, I did. I went to Prempeh College.
Yes, see. But I went to Winber Secondary School. I taught myself. There was no teacher. I saw a graduate teacher my last year of living. We taught ourselves. As I said, we were trained to be tough. So you met all these people. But because we have been trained to be tough, it didn't matter to me whether you were in Achimota and Father Prempeh College or Sinoka. It didn't matter to me. I just proved myself. Luckily for us, today, I don't know what will happen to me. My father didn't know anybody in Accra. I had to prove myself. And we had teachers, there were a few Ghanaians who came later, but they were mostly British. They didn't know you, so they look at you from how you performed in the training. And they were watching us. They watched you, they took it, they didn't do, you didn't bribe anybody. So when you were selected, I was selected, I was surprised that myself, Joe Feli, Kwame Mfetu, and Sam Akwinsibi, after the whole of only 4 were selected to continue our training in Sandhurst. Now, you ask about Sandhurst it's a prestigious place. I mean, if you go into history of military academies, it's probably the top. West Point is topmost. So when you were selected to go there to Sandhurst, then you knew that you had to prove something. And everybody sent their best. Nigerians, Tanzanians, Kenyans, Ghanaians, Sierra Leoneans, Indians, everybody sent their best. And Ghanaians sent their best. So you are competing with the best everywhere. So when you end up being selected at the end of your training to be the best overseas officer cadet of your intake, that's the time to be very proud. Not only Ghanaians, but also the Nigerians, everybody. You are judged to be the best officer cadet of that group.
And that was you?
That was me. So it wasn't just, it was a lot of hard work.
Okay.
I was there just about a few weeks ago, celebrate our 55th year of commissioning. Sometime, I think early August, 3rd August, hardly 2 months ago, I was there. And the members came back. And I walked there and I saw, and all my colleagues now, they're all balded and some can hardly walk. And so age has taken its toll. But a very proud moment. We went to church. It was a lunch. Just got a lunch. I went to church. Church, I'd been there 55 years ago. And pray for our colleagues, fallen colleagues, including Roger Feli. Akwesibi's name was the first. One from St. Augustine's College. And it makes you sad memories. And also happiness, a mixture of sadness. And so we went to church, pray for them. And this was 100 years of the First World War. We also pray for the fallen heroes of the First World War. Very emotional gathering. To go to Sandhurst, which train was in Churchill. You heard about Messi was in Churchill. There were great names. People like Montgomery was Churchill and all the characters. It was, I don't have my picture here, but Lord Mountbatten I'm sure you haven't heard Mountbatten. He was commander of he was uncle to Prince Charles. And he was the commander of the Allied forces in Burma during the Second World War. Ghanaians served under him. And talking about Ghanaian soldiers, how lovely they were when he was commanding them in the Far East. So it was a pot of history, emotion, a wonderful experience.
Okay. Now, I wanted to ask you, as a young military officer at that time, I know you had great admiration for Kwame Nkrumah.
Yes.
You must have been conflicted when he was overthrown in the military coup.
I heard of Nkrumah as early as 1949. He was only 40 years old. He was a young man, broke away from the UGCC and formed the CPP. And within 2 years, I was in a boarding school in Aguna Sabah. When I heard Nkrumah was coming to Winneba, he didn't have, only one GBC. The rumor that coming to Winneba one Saturday. So I didn't get the exit. I ran away. I don't know what that, but I just wanted to see Nkrumah because like some phenomenon that was, overwhelming. Like Christ coming to Jerusalem and Zacchaeus climbing the tree, sycamore tree, to see Christ. And Christ went and said, today in your house, I'll spend the night. That memory came back to me. If you go to Winneba, there's a fork road, wide road. In the middle of that wide road, there was a big almond tree. Somehow, I was a young boy, about 40 years old, in a boarding school. I came to Winneba and climbed that tree. The crowd was unbelievable to get a glimpse of Nkrumah. And it's an amazing story. But for Nkrumah, people like me wouldn't be sitting down here. I'd have been fishing or something. I'm not saying fishing is bad. I wouldn't have written to where I am today. You see, even before Nkrumah, our leadership was unique. People came to serve. They didn't come to lord it over their friends. They came to serve to create a better future. If I come to serve, I want your children to be better than me. Not only my children. This was the mood in which we came to public service. So what the motto of Sandhurst is: you serve to lead. Serve to lead. In Ghana, politicians don't serve to lead. They serve to make money and to have the biggest car on earth. That is not the essence of leadership. It is make people better than. Unfortunately, we don't have it now. So Nkrumah was somebody that I know him as a person. In 1965, I was in Britain studying, doing a course, and he came to Britain, the last Commonwealth Head of Government meeting before he was overthrown. I saw it with our own eyes. The High Commissioner then was Mekwesiama. He stayed in one bedroom. I saw it. No, not something I read. I was there. I saw it. Today, look at our leaders. You see, this is why I admire people like Nkrumah. His simplicity, his humility. He didn't have one bedroom. He didn't have any house. When he died, I went to Nkrumah to see the mother. If you saw where Nkrumah's mother was staying, not like today. Our leaders do all kinds of things. Well, as I was coming to see, I get emotional about these things. As I was coming to meet you, I was in Jowulu, drove there, saw young people in the heat of the sun. I got angry because they should be better than where they are. I was like this. I didn't complain. But if I'm today, I'm former chief of defense staff, and my son is a surgeon at London, Citi Hospital in London. He's a consultant. He took me somewhere a few weeks ago. I couldn't believe it. That's my son. Why couldn't other sons of other people other daughters become like this? And don't tell me it cannot be done. I have so much faith. I have so much confidence. It can be done. If you got to know the man, and you young people should read more about Nkrumah. Unfortunately, when Nkrumah was overthrown, we tried to destroy everything about Nkrumah. That's the first thing we did. Documents about him, everything Nkrumah did.
General, you speak about him in almost reverential terms, but history has also not been very nice to Nkrumah. So he wasn't all that good.
You see, we haven't been fair.
You don't tell us the good part.
No.
Tell us the good. You never tell us about the bad.
Tell me the bad, and I'll explain the bad. And Nkrumah passed a law. Maybe one of the big people like Danko died in prison, which was sad. But you see, people who tell the story don't tell the full story. The full story. In 1958, I was at school, just 1 year at school, not secondary school, when a time was made to overthrow Nkrumah. Nkrumah didn't show any tendency to become the dictator at all. I mean, there was nothing wrong. Yet, the father Nkrumah won power, and he wasn't expected to win power. I mean, a village boy coming from the Western region, she didn't win power. So our attempt was made to throw Nkrumah. I was a young boy. I understood it. I wasn't young. I was actually about 21 years old, so I wasn't that young. I knew what I was saying. So our attempt was made to overthrow him as early as that. And the Queen came here in 1961, 62? Attempts were made to disrupt the coming of the Queen. All sorts of things were done to destroy Nkrumah. So in response to that, I believe that when Nkrumah passed this law to arrest and detain his opponents. You see, attempt was made in 1964, the Ametepe coup d'etat. Policemen got him, shot him. All these, see, if you try to kill me, I will defend myself, wouldn't I? But let's tell the full story. To know why Nkrumah did something. I'm not saying Nkrumah was an angel. He was a human. And to err is human. I'm not an angel. I commit, sins as human, like everybody else. But let's give him due credit for what he did. Nkrumah was overthrown. I was chairman of GEORG, which had 10 subsidiaries, steelworks, pharmaceuticals, oil mills, electronics. We destroyed almost everything. We should have sustained those things. Black Star Line, Ghana Airways. Young people today will not be roaming the streets and begging and selling dog chains on the street. You destroy them. This is the one thing that hurts me so much so. The young people today have denied a future. Imagine, Ghana should have about 100 ships. Young people, cruising the oceans. Ghana should have about 50 airlines. We saw everything because Nkrumah started them. That is criminal.
You are watching Face to Face with my guest, Brigadier General Joseph Nunu Mensah, retired. When we return from our break, we'll have a conversation about his days as CDS, politics, and leadership. Keep watching.
Wherever the weekend sporting action happened, we will bring it to you here on Scorecard. Every goal, every dunk, every punch, the winning strides, and the winning volleys.
International media, he said, look, wait, sit and wait. Let me have a meal with my people. And I think that's the same cool, it's the same organization he brings to the field every time I've seen him play. He looks to me like somebody who's played over 50 caps already. Okay. But this guy has barely played over 25 caps for the national team.
All of the weekend's action in one place. Scorecard. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. prompt on Citi TV.
Welcome back to Face as we continue our conversation with Brigadier General Joseph Nunu Mensah. Now, Brigadier, I know you loved Nkrumah and you've spoken about what we missed and what could have learned. But you moved on after those periods and you rose through the army to become a 2-time CDS. How does one become a 2-time CDS? Isn't one enough?
To do that, let me take you a few years back very quickly. In 1966, we had this school which toppled Nkrumah. I was a captain then. But I moved pretty quickly between then and 1979, at the time of the Rawlins June 4th Revolution. I'd gone to Staff College in Canada, the middle level school for officers with a major rank, Captain Major. I'd come back in 1975, spent another year in India at the highest, one of the highest training schools in the world. Wonderful place in New Delhi, and came back as chief of staff at the time of the June 4th Revolution. I don't know how you remember, but in 1977, it's a bit too far back that you may not remember. But Achampa had done a coup in 1972 and was head of states. And in 77, by 77, there were a lot of commotion in Ghana, coming from doctors, teachers, a lot of, the regime had become, more cumbersome. I had to get rid of the regime, the military regime, and he was unwilling to hand over power. I remember I myself, Medu, at a meeting, a top-level meeting, remember come, put an idea that it's about time the military left politics and went back to barracks. Then Champa wasn't too pleased. So we were posted, I was posted soon after that to go to Uganda as High Commissioner to Idi Amin, which I refused to go. And Amedu went to Zambia and said High Commissioner there. So in 1978, the military thought that enough was enough, and Achampa was removed. Yinakopo became the head of state. Amedu came back from Zambia to become the Chief of Defense Staff. Then I was posted to the Staff College at Teshi, at Commandant. So during that period, a few months after my posting, 3-4 months, the June 4th took place. And it didn't have too many senior officers like we have today, 4 or 5 brigadiers. So myself, Yenekwenu, a few others were there. The military high command at that time, being the juniors who were taking power from the Akufo government, decided that I should become Chief of Defense Staff.
Okay.
If you want to know why, someone want to meet President Warren, ask him. What he said was that among the officers that was available, I was the best person to become Chief of Defense Staff. So I left my job as Commandant to become Chief of Defense Staff. It was sometime in July 19, but early, I think July 1979. But within a matter of 3 months, elections had been held to hand over power to the PNP under President Liman. So they went ahead with the handover, and Liman became president sometime in September. Within the next 3 or 4 months, I mean, it wasn't possible for me to stay with the government. It wasn't possible.
Why wasn't it possible?
You see, you have principles in life. This life, see, people live today. You go and see NDC posters there, waiting for NPP to fall, for them to come to power. NPP will do the same thing. Now, I have principles in life. I can go back and fish. If I don't mind putting down the job of Chief of Defense Staff, which I did. And you come to that. So I was difficult. The principles of military, I will never bend. I will never bend them.
Was it just not a matter of you didn't like Liman?
No. I've never hit anybody. I just see that we had a Minister of Defense, Master Alipoku. You may have heard it, Alipoku. He thought that being the minister, he was in charge of the Minister of Defense. I said, you're not in charge. I'm the Chief of Defense Staff. The President is the Commander-in-Chief. You are representing him. So you have no power over me. There was basic principles of disagreement about how to manage the military. And that ended up with me being removed or sacked in November 1979. So what happened? I wouldn't go to details, but I was removed and I went to have a big farm. I mean, I told you before, I had a rough life. So anytime I can fish, I go back to fish. I was a fisherman. I was a farmer. So I had a big farm at Hacho. A very big farm. If you came to my home in those days, you see food everywhere here. Plenty of food. I don't fear hard work. I love hard work. So I went back and farm until 31st December 1981. President Rawlings seized power again. At my farm, when I heard my name already, that I wanted to become Chief of Defense Staff for the second time. That's why I became Chief of Defense Staff. He thought that I was not properly treated the way we were removed from power. So I came back. And Yenekwenu became the Army Chief of Staff. I'm just rushing through this.
Yes.
So that's how there's 2 times. So 2 times because when I came 2 times, but I myself, I didn't stay long with President Rawlings too.
Yes, and I wanted to ask you that.
You
left Liman, went to farm, Rawlings brought you back, and then you left Rawlings. On a matter of principle, you've never spoken about. But today I'll push you.
Yes.
Why did you leave Rawlings?
I mean, I don't have to hide it. First of all, it was difficult to be a very senior officer to work among soldiers and young officers. When you get to that level there, your training, your background, your experience is far outweigh those that you're working with. So they don't understand you. He said something.
But you were CDS.
Yeah, I was CDS. But for example, you were CDS. But your commanders, the government was made up of captains and majors.
Okay.
President Rawlings was a captain rank. And you cannot be a brigadier 7 captains. It doesn't work that way. It's an anomaly. So it didn't, you know, and for the sake of Ghana, I stayed in place because I felt that being critical in that position, anything I did have an impact on Ghana. Anything I did, people were seeing me as de facto head of state because they thought you were a level-headed person. And so once I left, I knew Ghana would be in trouble. So I stayed on and
you could see the signs.
No, when you have been my age and you have been through all these schools in the world, you've done studies of Pakistan, Ayub Khan and Musharraf and all these things going on around Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi. You learn so much, you know, so much that you can see things coming. So I knew that, I mean, given the chaos that was happening, I don't know whether you weren't around. Were you around those days?
A bit.
A bit, but you wouldn't remember much.
Yes.
You were too young to remember. But when you have young officers, things that happened by ordinary soldiers, they were so horrible. It tried to quell them down because you knew that if you left the scene, then what went on? The horrible that went on, if I'm to describe them today, I mean, they were too horrible to be described. But I knew within me that if I left, things would break down. I was in this very room, this very house. I woke up at 12 o'clock and began writing my letter of resignation. I woke up 12 o'clock, began writing. You haven't seen a copy before. I'll give you a copy. 3.5-page letter, giving reason why I resigned.
What did he say?
What did you say? I have to summarize it. That, you know.
No, I mean, what did Rawlings say when you gave him the letter?
He wrote back to me. That letter, it took 10 years to read it.
10 years for you to read the letter?
Yes. I put it down. I went to Britain. When I came, I read the letter. I never read it.
So you left without reading the letter, then Chairman Rawlings sent you in response?
I can tell you for a fact. I can quote the Quran and the Bible. I never read the letter. It's when I came back. Because I knew that the emotion was like that. If I read it, I may be so angry or something. So I just put it down. When I came back 10 years later, I took it and read it. And it's good I didn't read it.
Let me ask you this. You talk about you seeing the potential for damage based on the junior officers who were in charge at that point. For that phase, what is your overall view of what that regime came to achieve for Ghana?
No, they didn't come to. If you remember very well, it was a house cleaning exercise. They came to. President Rawlings or the AFIs said that the crimes of our Chapo regime criminals were not properly punished. If you go back, you see that they went away with murder, with looting.
Okay.
That's why Achampo and others were lined up and shot. Because the claim was that they hadn't paid for their sins. So it wasn't a regime that came to do any good. All they came is to punish those who they thought should have been punished. That's the reason they gave. So they didn't come. That's why they handed over power to Liman. Because Liman too had not run the country properly. So barely 2 years, few months, they came back to remove Liman. But judging from my knowledge, training experience, I knew that from the early signs that this regime could not run Ghana.
But it did for 19 years.
No, let's the second phase. After June 4th, I was going to actually, not June 4th, after June 30th, when the judges were killed. I wasn't going to go. I was actually hanging on to try to change things, hoping that things could be changed for the better. But when the judges and the army officers were taken hostage and killed, that was something I couldn't stomach. It was like the needle that brought the camel's back. I couldn't take anymore. Because for us to take human life, because you are in government, that I couldn't take it. This was in my letter. I said, that's which I will give a copy. When that came, I said, now enough is enough. Got up and resigned. In fact, I didn't resign immediately. I resigned about November 22nd. About 4 or 5 months later, after the 30th of June. Because evidence was coming out that people in the government were involved. Amate Kwe and others were involved in the killing. People in the government. And I couldn't belong to a government whose members are accused of meddling people. I mean, I couldn't do that. So for my own reputation, my own image, I had to quit.
Okay. Now, the next major political phase for you was when you emerged with Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, you were his campaign manager in 1998. Where did you meet him?
When I came back, I went to Britain from 83 to 93. Went back and came back in 94. I left Ghana for 10 years. When I came back and watched television, what I saw didn't make me happy. I mean, I'm always trying to make Ghana. I mean, it was an impossible task, but not for want of trying. That Ghana should be a better place than it is today. So I used to get angry with myself watching TV and thought that all the MPs were just rubbish. They were typical military officers, and you were the best. You can't go to science and feel that anybody is better than you. So I said, look, it's all the noise we're making, nobody is hearing you. Why don't you get to Parliament and make the noise there? But I left the PNDC, out of which NDC had come. So I couldn't go back to join the NDC. Even though my natural home was the NDC. And what I mean by this is that, look at my background, where I'm coming from. I should belong to a people's government. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, I do.
The NTP is an elitist government. It's an elitist government. Nkrumah chose Baranda boys. Kobodi said, Kofi Bakun, Nkrumah and all these characters. People teachers. That's where I belong to. But CPP had been decimated. I couldn't go back to CPP. So I go to the NPP. And that's when I stood for 1996 election for Winneba. And I was telling them things that I was too naive, too simplistic, too innocent to think that without giving them money, they would vote for me. That's the problem with Ghana. I said, look, I'll be chief of defense staff. My children are grown up. I don't need the money I need. I will set up a trust to train young people from the town who were clever, who didn't have parents to look after them. I will put money down to educate them. It was music to their ears, because I didn't promise money. But last thing I would do, give anybody money to vote for me. I would never do that. But I'm coming to serve you. Why should I bribe you to come and serve you? They thought you go to power to make money. That wasn't my intention. My intent was come and literally serve the people. I have a boy in this house. I asked him, when I come, who feeds? He feed before I feed. You can ask him. You see, this is how we were taught, trained as scientists. You serve to lead. So, when I went to the MPP, I lost the election to Mr. Makama, a good friend of mine, still a good friend of mine. But it was like a wonderful competition. It wasn't insult and, no, I don't believe in that. Later on, when Akufo-Addo tried to become leader of the NPP in 1998, he tried to become his campaign manager. So I've known him more than any other politician. I've known him very well. Still, I take him to be a good friend of mine. But, you see, politics and military, they don't mix.
Yes, because you fell out again.
Yes, because the way they are doing politics is not the way I want it to be done. I want us to come and rather than coming to make money. This is why I built O'Reilly. I built Winnipeg Secondary School block. I built Saban Presidential School. I built Konyako Police. I did about 6-7 buildings. The car I'm driving, if you see the car, not this Benz. This Benz 24 years old. 24 years old. 42 years old, 24 years old, and 20 years old. My cars are old. I could have bought a Land Cruiser. I said, no, that doesn't serve any purpose. If somebody's daughter or son is deficient of some money to become somebody, why don't you help that person? That's been my nature from birth. My mother was like that. My mother would cook at this time. And if you came there and said, God, have you eaten? Sit down, eat. I'm telling you, it's in my blood. This, you don't learn them. It's in your blood, you have it or you don't have it. So that is why you see me being different. That I know I resign and go away. When ABP got power with the Mr. Kufuor as you know, I supported them. I voted for them. And I'm now beginning to understand politicians more and more. That they don't come for the good of the people. They come for themselves. So I will never be a politician. I can never be.
And but you served as National Security Coordinator under Kufuor.
National Security Advisor under President Mills. No, President Mills. No,
under Mills. You didn't do that under Kufuor?
No, I did nothing with the MPP. They offered me a job. I took the job. I didn't do it.
But you went with Mills?
Yes.
Why? So you had moved from PNDC, MPP, back to your...
You see, if you watch my character very well, I'm looking for quality. I'm looking for money.
Mills was quality?
Of course, he was. I met the Mills for the first time at M Plaza Hotel. And I liked him. I liked him because of his humility. You know, he was so humble. So when he announced that I wanted to stand for the NDC, he came to see me in my house here. That shows humility. Mob wow. May your coffee means you know, a poacher. But I for small money. It's not the money, the size, the spirit behind the money is what's important. That you have my support to become president. And I never regretted when he became president. I was the first president he appointed as an official of his government. His advisor general. But I was opinion. I mean, sure. What do you want to do? He asked me, and I said, Mr. President, my strategy all my life. I've never done a civilian job. I want to be. My training put me in a job like where I would be advised on matters of security and national security. Period. He said, you have it. And
that was it.
Yes, and I served him with distinction. I remember, see this. See, unfortunately today, I regret. There are people who are not fit for the job they are doing, and they are messing up the work.
But isn't it a sign changing times? You perhaps belong to an era of hardened military men and intelligence, but perhaps we are now dealing with a different era of intelligence.
But even with your generation, I'm saying that when I appoint somebody into a job, not job for the boys, it must be that the person has some confidence. Just take food situation in Ghana today. It is critical. Look, I traveled to Konyako the other day, not about 3-4 weeks ago. See the police station I built. From Akoti Junction, the Winneba Road, you turn right towards Konyako. I was saddened by the fact that I didn't see one food crop, 15-mile stretch. How? All the youth there are in Accra selling dog chains. We want to get the money. Instead of buying tires, we buy Land Cruisers. So there is something wrong with the system. There's something definitely wrong.
And you've taken this criticism to a lot of levels. Let me ask you this. Clarify this for me.
Yes.
Were you fired by Mahama, reassigned by Mahama, or you just quit?
No, I mean, the truth of the matter was that I served Mahama with all this loyalty and distinction. I'm telling you the truth. When he became president, for no apparent reason, you see, there are people. For me, I like when I'm clever. I mean, I can boast about it. I'm not stupid. So if you are like me, I like you.
Mahama is like you.
No, I'm coming to that. I haven't come to that. I'm saying that if you are like me, because I want quality. I want quality. I don't want any you know. So somehow, President Mills, I got on with him excellently. You were very modest. I'm a very modest person. Extremely modest. He was very modest. So we got on very well. Somehow President Mahama was vice. We got on very well. Somehow he became president after the death of President Mills. He thought he should change the whole team. Just take a Black Star Line. Then the manager says he wants to change someone, change everybody, but new team. You will fail. You can't do it.
But he's from what his team says.
Now I'm coming to answer your I'm not going to answer your question. But I want to give you a bit of background so people understand it.
Okay.
So I haven't changed the whole lot. Everybody was changed. E.T. Mensah, Barbin, everybody changed. Now you can't take over a team, whether a football team or army command, and change, well, you will fail. Because you need a bit of experience to merge with youth. Because the old order changes, yielding place to the new. If you read 12 Nights, which I read in school, it changes. So the old people there mix them with the young, the youth. Look what President Mills did. Our deputies, our black ones and whatnot. So when people like me fade away, they take over. Knowledge from university doesn't qualify to become a minister. I'm telling you, it's not enough. Because you have a degree in economics, you can cite all the economic theories. When you go to the ground, it's different. It's different. People are working on the street, they're hungry, and you say you are economic. Go and solve the problem. So you let the youth with the theory. Stay with the young people, old people, And before we go, pick the experience, the knowledge. Knowledge is not books you read in school. Knowledge is experience over time. You can't be in the world all these years and you haven't learned anything. No. I grew cassava in Aboba. They were big like my thighs. It wasn't in any Greek book. It's experience. So it was wrong to change the whole team and bring a new set of team, and then they mess up everything.
That was your estimation. You think Mahama messed up?
If you are power, and lose power, you lose the power. Opposition, Nana Akufo didn't win the election. They did, which lost power.
That is your estimation of what happened.
It is what is simple. Go and check our politics. That opposition parties don't win power. The government in power which lose power. You have everything to keep power, and you lost it.
You think that Muhammad?
But I'm coming. I haven't answered your question yet. Let me come answer your question.
Answer the question.
Yes, no, it's not. That's not the case. Why I'm opposed to him coming back. I was sacked. I didn't do a coup d'etat to come back. I want to manage a cassava farm. There are several things we can do to build Ghana. You see, I was going to fishing. I went to school, became a soldier. I became a politician, partly. So if we have lost power, I'm saying that to try and come back, but at all costs. Look, people have lost power. If you go back to history, 1980, President Carter lost power to President Reagan. He's alive. You Google, he's about 90-something years. Yes. He's still doing so much good to mankind. I left power. The man sacked me. I want to have a big farm. I used to bring tractors to cassava, to Labadi, to myself. So I'm saying that you can serve mankind in many other ways. But because we have lost power, we are struggling to come back to power as if the power is the only job to do. NDC are waiting for NPP to fall to come back to power. They won't think about what good to do to Ghana. So was NPP when NDC was in power. I had to bring them down. That is not politics. That's dirty politics.
You're watching Face to Face on Citi TV. We're having an exciting and very revealing conversation with a two-time CBS Brigadier General Joseph Nunu Mensah. Face to Face, we'll be right back.
It's engaging, detailed, and loaded with factual and incisive analysis. It's The Big Issue, your preferred Saturday morning news and current affairs analysis program on Citi TV. Tune in this and every Saturday at 9 a.m. and hear the newsmakers discuss the top issues for the week.
At that time, Charlotte was complete. I'm not defending Charlotte. I'm talking about the way we behave like hypocrites and ostriches in this country. At that time, she was a perfect person.
It's The Big Issue with Selam Adonu on Citi TV. This and every Saturday at 9 a.m.
Let me ask you this. Do you regret, and perhaps that would be a poor choice of words, considering that on my way into your house,
yes,
I saw that you have put it in a frame. That controversial statement you made when you were opening O'Reilly Secondary School, that if the kitchen is too hot for you, but get out. Do you regret that statement?
Experience a big whatever. Look, what I have.
You took a lot of heat.
No, but the heat, but it's tough. I mean, body like crocodile body, very tough. The heat will hit back and reflect.
In hindsight, you don't regret it?
No, you cannot pierce through my body. You see, you've got to be tough. This world is a rough world. It's a very rough world. And what Ghanaians lack, which I regret, is the courage to speak their mind. I was a captain. I was taken to Nkrumah's office. I had done something, and my boss was so scared of Nkrumah that I had to be taken to Nkrumah's office. In 1966, Ghana Kutakaden, who overthrew Nkrumah, called me to his office a day after the coup. You see, when you are controversial, and everything I did was based on logic, not of hatred. So I could explain to you why I did what I did, based on my logic. And they said, go away, go. Because they found nothing wrong with what I did. Based on logic, I enunciated. So I'm saying that what we lack in Ghana, which you young people should wake up. Because soon, if Kofi and others are gone, I'm older than Kofi. He is gone. So that's a wake up. Ghana is gone. What do you do? Wake up and save this country. Because you are things wrong with the country. You're all going, be quiet. Nobody want to talk. Because you know things are wrong. But nobody is able to talk.
What is wrong now?
Can't you
MPP is working, they say.
I'm not saying that. They're working, but if, look, I didn't do physics in school. I was too poor. I didn't have teachers. But work done is effort times distance. I taught my children. The doctor was teaching them. I didn't do physics, but I learned in science. If you are working and they're sweating, but nothing happens, you are doing nothing. Work done is effort times distance. If I move this chair, I moved and I'm sweating, and the same is still there. I don't know where.
And that is how you describe the MPP.
No.
That they are sweating, but nothing is happening.
We are planting food for jobs and what?
You should be excited. You like growing things.
Traffic. You should look. It's like going food for what?
Planting for food and jobs. They have shared their numbers. Almost 500,000 farmers.
You have seen them. They are farming.
Yes.
They haven't shown the picture of the farms.
So you don't. Look, you are not buying these things.
Robert, let them not be fooled, though. You make me laugh. Let them not be fooled. That's my. You see, we are being fooled, unfortunately. The coconut here. How much one coconut? How much?
These days on the market, 2 cedis.
No, more than 2 cedis. You are not living in Ghana. The big ones are more than
2.5.
Some are even 3. That's a part of my house in Canton. Where you are? This one, 50 pesos. So, things are getting better.
The government says they are
even if I am blind, even if I'm dumb, I can feel my stomach, the hunger in my stomach. You see, the things are rough. You go to Winneba. I come from Winneba. There's a university there. President Akufo was there to the new
vice chancellor.
Vice chancellor. I didn't go. I didn't know it. I would have gone there. Nobody invited. I don't really care. And I was going back to secondary school. You walk in the town. I don't know how they eat in the school. I made the undergraduate. I asked them, "What do you eat?" It's terrible. And you tell me there's food. Where is the food? I'm not blind. I probably my eyes, but I can say that when in the night. Look, something's wrong with the country, and we need to have courage to speak up. That is, to me, my biggest, again, you the young people. Because look, at my age, you have a picture of Ghana Military Academy. More than 75% are no more. So my chance that look, I also be following you pretty soon, or not pretty, sometime very soon. When we go, that's why I thought this our thing is very interesting. When I wake up, I dread about the future. What happened to Ghana? Governor did his best, but he's gone. KBS is gone. We are going one by one. So I said, how? You can't even feed ourselves. We can't. I'm telling you, we can't feed ourselves. I had a big fan at Kwabenya. If you went there, you wouldn't believe that Janunu Mensah holding my cutlass. Nobody wants to farm because the government doesn't support the young people to farm. They say they are supporting them. But when you go to the farm and you don't see young people, they're all on the street in Accra. Like Bob Cole said, if you're in Taban and Kabada Mensa, if you got your home was good, why are they in Accra? So don't pretend as if all is well. Let's have the courage to speak the truth.
You like education. You've been building schools. The first time I heard your name mentioned along with O'Reilly Secondary School, I thought your family owned the school.
No, I not.
But you just built schools.
Not schools. Not only schools. So many things. I get your because I paid the school fees for her. I didn't know her anyway. You see, this kindness, this thing, you can't go and learn. Leadership and all, you don't learn. You can't go to school and learn to be kind. You will lie. You can never learn. It's inside your blood. It's in your genes. I built O'Reilly and so many schools. O'Reilly in Sabah, Presby in Sabah Islamic School, Konyako Police Station, Konyako Clinic, Winneba Secondary School, a big block, the Rampo Secondary School, and Mori. When I started building, I didn't go to sit in a Land Cruiser. If you say pushing a wheelbarrow, you won't believe that you remember the one pushing the wheelbarrow. You won't believe it. But I used to push wheelbarrow to teach young people how to lead through service to people. This is why we don't teach. You come and start with a Land Cruiser. Later I should go and we should go and work. Get out and go and work as well. Get out and go and work. Ask my boy, you ask him, how do you find your master? You did it before you go. Interview him. You see, that's the leadership. By example. By example. But The young people on the street there, I feel so sad about them. I feel so sad. I look at them, they look like they are worn out. I feel sad. But we don't have leaders who understand them. But unfortunately, the people who are in power don't feel it.
Are you hopeful?
I'm scared. I'm worried. I'm scared. I'm telling you, I'm scared. When I look at the youth today, and they're having children, they themselves can't get a place to sleep. They're having children. Those children, the children, where are they going? We are free senior high school today. Have you thought of what to do after the senior high school? Have you thought about it? Have you thought about it? Where they will go? No, they have to produce them. That is not the essence of education. It will make life better. It's not happening. But people who are supposed to sit up and stand up and be, accountable to what they say, they are scared for what? I don't know. What are you scared of? The country, I keep on saying it, it's obvious. When you go on the road there, you turn and see those who are selling on the road there. What are they selling? Dog chain, something. I feel sad. I just said, please. I just said, they come to wipe my windscreen. I switch on the windscreen. They're going to put some soapy water on my windscreen. Because they're desperate. And we say, do you know what's going on? What are you waiting for? And they're going to Europe. Now to look to barricaded their countries. Italy, yesterday, Italy. If for Italy you pay the fool, they will send it back to your own country. If you go to stay. Yesterday. Austria, Sweden, Germany, Britain, skinheads were fighting. All these indications that things are getting rougher and rougher. But we seem not to see it. That's my worry. That's my worry, and my advice to you, the young people, to wake up and secure the country for yourself. I mean, I don't have a future. At 81 plus, you think I have a future? My people, they're all gone. So, but I worry when I'm gone, what happens to me, my children, grandchildren, and your children, your grandchildren. What I want, you're going to take a loan to be paid in what, 100 years? Where will we be? Who will be here to pay the loan? Answer me, who will be here?
My answer is that thank you very much, Brigadier General Joseph Nunu-Mensah. It's been very, very educational sitting with you. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. I wish we could have just gone on and on and on, but time would not allow us. It's been a pleasure being with you on Face to Face. My name is Godfrey Kutubuafo. See you on another episode of this great show. Have a good day.